In a few short years, Americans came to view Geronimo in an entirely new way. When he had first arrived in Florida, crowds gathered at the prison to gawk at the wickedest Indian who ever lived. 8 years later, as Geronimo was being taken from Alabama to Oklahoma, crowds gathered again. This time they came to cheer a national hero. What had changed was America itself. Geronimo's surrender had ended the Indian Wars that had raged for nearly 3 centuries.
Once that moment is perceived to be over, there's an almost immediate turn to a kind of nostalgic sensibility. Boy, those were the days, right, when we faced off against these, these challenging, dangerous Indian opponents. Gosh, I miss those times.
Once the despised savage, Geronimo was now the valiant warrior who had held out against impossible odds.
By the 20th century, Geronimo comes to stand for some of the values we hold most dear in America. The lone battler, the champion of his people, the guy who never gives up, the ultimate underdog. He becomes an icon, a sentimental icon of what was once a real enemy. And there's something amazingly American about that transformation.
While other Chiricahuas were kept under guard, Geronimo was allowed to travel. He attended expositions and appeared in Wild West shows.
Geronimo adopting or seen to adopt American culture represents a major symbolic victory. American civilization has arrived, and even Geronimo is now embracing it.
In 1905, President Theodore Roosevelt asked Geronimo to lead his inaugural procession. As the 80-year-old Apache rode down Pennsylvania Avenue, people threw their hats in the air and shouted, "Hooray for Geronimo." Several days later, Geronimo met with the president and asked if he could return to Arizona. "My hands are tied as with a rope," Geronimo said. "I pray you to cut the ropes and make me free. Let me die in my own country." "It is best for you to stay where you are," Roosevelt replied. "Resentment still burns in Arizona," he explained. "That is all I can say, Geronimo." One day in February 1909, the most famous Indian alive was riding home when he was thrown from his horse. He lay out in the freezing cold all night. When an old friend found him, Geronimo was gravely ill. He died 6 days later, still a prisoner of war. Although Americans celebrated him, Geronimo provoked complicated feelings in the hearts of many Apaches.
We have different perspectives on the man, who he was, how he lived his life, why he did what he did, and how that affected the rest of the tribe.
Apache people suffered because of him. We all suffered with him.
Most of the tribe were angry with him and they blamed him. We don't look at him as a hero.
He wasn't alone. And when these white people think about all these things that were going on, they should name all the group that was with him instead of just Geronimo, because he didn't do it alone.
And then there are a lot of other names also lost in history, lost in the canyons of Mexico, lost in the mountains of the Chiricahuas, names long forgotten.
While other Apaches remained in the Southwest, the Chiricahua had paid dearly for Geronimo's resistance. They were never allowed home.
Well, he killed a lot of people. Why is he remembered when he did all these bad things? It's because he put a mark on the American people. He put a scar on them.
the end, even Geronimo had regrets. On his deathbed, he summoned his nephew to his side. "I should never have surrendered," the old man whispered. "I should have fought until I was the last man alive."